Alright, so if you are anything like me, the thought of a four-cylinder Mustang sets you off. A Mustang has to be a V8. You can't call it a muscle car if there's no muscle, etc, etc. But today, I want to take a look at a car that might just change our minds, or at least make us understand its existence. This is the Mustang SVO, a Volks body with a turbo 4-banger under the hood. But there's a reason for this. And to understand, we need to go back in time to the 1980s, a decade where music was synthesizers and cars were, well, let's just say the phrase performance Mustang had all the credibility of a politician's promise. The oil crisis had strangled the muscle car, emission regulations had turned engines into wheezing asthmatics, and Ford's Mustang had devolved into a sad, bloated parody of its former self. The second-generation Mustang, a Pinto in a party dress. The King Cobra, a sticker package masquerading as a sports car. And I'm not even over-exaggerating. This thing made 130 horsepower. The oil crisis really screwed up the muscle car world. But then, in 1979, Ford did something radical. They put the Mustang on a diet, slapped it onto the Volks platform, and the engineers thought to themselves, maybe we can make this thing good again. And they certainly tried. Enter Special Vehicle Operations. Not a catchy name, mind you. It sounds like a tax office for race cars, but this was Ford's Skunkworks program, a team of engineers who looked at the Mustang's wheezy V8s and said, no, we're doing this properly. Now the SVO team had a problem. They needed power, but the 5-liter V8 of the time was about as lively as a sedated sloth. So they did the unthinkable. They threw the V8 in the bin and grabbed the 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine from the parts bin. Yes, a 4-cylinder, but this was a turbocharged, intercooled, electronically wizardized masterpiece that, wait for it, made the SVO even faster than the V8 GT of that time. And I think in order for us to truly appreciate this engine, let's imagine it wasn't installed in a Mustang. Done? Okay, so the SVO engine had an air-to-air intercooler, which was the first time this was used on any American production car. It had an electronic boost control system that could ramp up to 14 psi of boost pressure. And it had a party trick, a console-mounted switch that let you choose between economy and performance modes. Fancy premium fuel, crank it up to performance, and enjoy 205 horsepower, cheap gas, flip it to economy, and have a cheap runabout. But here's the kicker, this engine wasn't just powerful, it was smart. The turbo spooled like a cat ready to pounce, the intercooler kept things frosty, and the whole setup weighed less than the V8, giving the SVO a near-perfect 50-48 weight distribution. Compare that to the GT, which handled like a fridge rolling downhill. Speaking of handling, when Ford built this thing, they didn't just bolt on a turbo to the engine. They reimagined the Mustang as a proper driver's car. The suspension was overhauled with Coney shocks, stiffer springs and a quicker steering rack. The brakes, well, she got 4-wheel disc brakes pinched from the Lincoln Continental, because if it can't stop that boat, it most certainly can stop this. Then there were the tires. Goodyear Gatorbacks, unidirectional, sticky, and wrapped around 16-inch wheels. The result, a Mustang that didn't just go fast in a straight line. It cornered, it stopped, and it didn't understeer into a hedge unless you really wanted it to. Now, journalists of the time lost their minds. They compared it to the Porsche 924 Turbo. They called it the best handling American car ever made. They wrote sonnets about the steering feel, and yet nobody bought the damn thing. Why? Because it cost $16,000, which was $6,000 more than the V8 GT. Americans looked at the price tag, looked at the 4-cylinder engine and said, I'd rather have a Camaro. And let's be honest, the SVO was doomed from the start. It arrived in 1984, a time when performance car meant loud exhaust and a spoiler. Buyers wanted cubic inches, not cubic centimeters. They wanted a V8 rumble, not a turbo whistle, and they definitely didn't want to explain to their buddies at the bar why their Mustang had fewer cylinders. But here's the tragedy. The SVO wasn't just good for a Mustang, it was good, full stop. It could hang with the BMW 3 Series, the Porsche 944, and the Toyota Supra of today. It had the soul of a European sports car with the swagger of an American icon, and it did it all while being relatively economical and lowish on emissions. yet Ford only sold 9,000 of them, and for context, Chevrolet sold 30,000 Corvettes in 1984 alone. The SVO wasn't a sales failure, it was a cultural failure, a masterpiece ignored because it didn't fit the script. Fast forward to today, and the SVO is a cult classic, a quirky footnote in the Mustang's history. But here's the thing, this car was decades ahead of its time. Turbocharged? Check. Lightweight? Check. Driver-focused? Check. It's basically the template for every hot hatch and sports car on the market today. Drive one now and you'll be shocked. The steering talks to you like an old friend. The chassis balance is on a knife's edge. The turbo whooshes and spits like it's alive. It's raw, analog and gloriously unpretentious. This isn't a car that needs a touchscreen, a drift mode or a subscription service. It just needs a driver with a pulse. Compare that to modern Mustangs, which weigh as much as a neutron star and have more computing power than the Apollo mission. The SVO is a reminder that performance isn't about numbers, it's about feel. And in that department, this car is a heavyweight. So, at the end of the video, let's have a quick recap. The SVO was a turbocharged, intercooled, four-cylinder Mustang that handled like a dream, cost too much, and died before its time. It was an answer to a question nobody asked, and that's exactly why it was so brilliant. And in my opinion, if this car was named anything other than a Mustang, it would have been a cult classic. But just because it bore the name of a growling V8, people were uninterested. But at the end of this video, please let me know what you guys think of this car, what did you guys think of the video, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you guys did like this video, you'll probably like most of my other stuff, so just go through my channel, see if there's something else like, I'll check you guys in the next one. Cheers,